Hey everyone, Astro Commander here. Today I'm bringing you a Dark Magician deck profile. I put the poll up on my channel between Red Eyes, Dark Magician, and X-Saber and didn't get any votes or input, so we're going with Dark Magician. I am playing a non-modernized version. I have one of the newest support cards, but most of the other support cards are in this deck. I just haven't had the chance or the money right now to buy the new support for this deck that came out in Maze of Moritros. So, without further ado, I play 3 copies of the main man himself, the Dark Magician. So, this is a good thing to run at 3. He can be a little bricky at times, but I run him at 3 because of the effect of Eternal Soul. He can special summon himself from the graveyard. So, it's super easy to get him back onto the field and use him again for either XD's material or Link material or Fusion material even. So, I then play 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos form. You can reveal this card in your hand, add 1 Dark Magician or 1 non-ritual monster that mentions him from the deck to your hand. Then place 1 card from your hand on top of the deck. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return this card to your hand, and if you do, special summon 1 Dark Magician from your graveyard. And if you do, negate that activated effect. You can only use each effect of Illusion of Chaos once per turn. So, good card to reoccur your Dark Magician from the extra deck. Or from the graveyard, sorry, my bad. We then play 3 copies of Magician Souls. This is kind of your main effect staple of the deck. You can send up to 2 spell/trap cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. Draw that many cards. If this card is in your hand, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard, then activate 1 of these effects. So keep in mind that most of the cards in this deck, except for I think Timaeus the Magical Dragon and Red Eyes, they're all level 6 or higher spellcasters, I believe. So that's not going to really be too much of an issue. So you can get this effect off pretty much any time. You can special summon this card, or you can send this card to the graveyard. Then you can special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. So you can only use each effect of Magician Souls once per turn. So you can basically summon itself if you need like a monster to help like XDs climb, but in this deck you don't really do that. But really it's just used to get your Magician Souls or Dark Magician Girl back from the graveyard. So another great 3 of. I then play 3 copies of Magician's Rod. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 spell or trap card from the deck to your hand. That specifically lists the card Dark Magician in its text. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card or effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can tribute 1 spellcaster type monster, add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Magician's Rod once per turn. So this is good because basically use its effect, it's in the graveyard, then if you need to, you can reoccur it back to your hand to get it off again. And this is kind of a loop card, but you can only use the effects once per turn, so just keep that in mind. But on your next turn, you'd be able to use them again technically if you're tributing 1 of your spellcaster monsters. I then play 1 copy of Magician's Robe. This one, a lot of people don't really play, but I think it's a fun little tech card. During your opponent's turn, you can discard 1 spell or trap card, special summon 1 monster, Dark Magician from your deck. This is a quick effect. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card or effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So, you can special summon this card back in defense mode on your opponent's turn, just so you have a 2000 defense body on the field. I think it's a pretty good card, but it's not very popular, so I'm only using it at 1. I play 1 copy of Magician of Dark Illusion. This card's name becomes Dark Magician while it's on the field, so just keep that in mind. So if he's on the field and the card says you must have, this affects Dark Magician on the field, or affects any cards named Dark Magician, it will affect him as well. You can only use each of these effects of Magician of Dark Illusion once per turn. Damage your opponent during your opponent's turn. If you activate a spell or trap or effect during the damage step, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you activate a spell, trap card, or effect while this card is face up on the field, except during the damage step, you can target one Dark Magician in your graveyard, special summon it. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. So that second effect can only be used once, but just keep that in mind, that it technically counts as a Dark Magician. So if you need a fusion also, when he's on the field, he still counts as Dark Magician. So any card that says you must have Dark Magician material, you can still use him as well. This one's fun. It's from the movie. It's kind of a bricky tech card, but it's also a good boss monster if you can get him out. I play one copy of the Sorcerer of Dark Magic. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by attributing 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster type monsters, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So basically, it's just a good counter to trap cards. And I believe it says you can. So like when you activate your Eternal Soul, it's not like it's going to automatically negate it if there's no other targets. This is an optional effect, but it's a good effect to keep in mind for like imperms. Either way. It's just a good effect to know in terms of negations. I would highly recommend this get out sooner rather than later, but I enjoy playing him. On to some of the lower level magicians. We play one Apprentice Illusion Magician. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding one card. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Dark Magician from your deck to your hand during the damage calculation. If your other dark spellcaster monsters battle an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. That monster you control gains 2,000 attack or defense during that damage calculation only. So just it's an attack boost and a special summon. I enjoy playing her, but I play her only as a 1. We then play the other main magician. We play one copy of Dark Magician Girl. Increase the attack of this monster by 300 points for each Dark Magician or Magician of Black Chaos in either player's graveyard. So another reason I play 3 copies of Dark Magician, because if you get all 3 of them in there, it increases your attack by 900 points. So you have a 2,900 beat stick. So there are other cards in this deck also to help kind of swap her out and tag her in. I then play one copy of Timaeus, the United Dragon. You can send one spellcaster type monster or one spell trap card that mentions Dark Magician from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand during the main phase. You can fusion summon one monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a spellcaster monster. You can only use each effect of Timaeus the United Dragon once per turn. And then the only other vanilla monster in this deck we run one copy of Red Eyes B Dragon. For nostalgia factor and the clear factor that if you fuse the normal Red Eyes Black Dragon and the normal Dark Magician together for Dragoon, you get the 2 compared to the 1. So we throw that in there as fusion material for the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is your main boss monster in this deck. But that's it for the monsters. For spells, we play 3 copies of Soul Servant. Place one card on top of the deck from your hand deck, or graveyard that is a Dark Magician card or specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except for Soul Servant. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, draw cards equal to the number of Palladium monsters, Dark Magician, and or Dark Magician Girls with different names on the field and in the graveyards. So just remember that. So you can kind of stack your deck and then use the other part of the effect to draw the card you need off the top. So it's kind of a good card to run a 3 of. This is an essential. I love this card. I then play 2 copies of Dark Magical Circle. When this card is activated, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you can reveal 1 Dark Magician or 1 Spell Trap card that specifically lists the Dark Magician among them and add it to your hand. So it's a good searcher, but just remember, you have to replace the remaining cards on the top of your deck in any order. So it's kind of good to stack with Soul Servant in that way. But it is a good card to search for certain cards you need at the time. If Dark Magician is normal or special summon to your field, except during the damage step, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. This is what I was talking about with Eternal Soul and the 3 copies of Dark Magician, because it counts as you can summon a Dark Magician on every turn, which then can trigger that effect as a continuous loop, basically. So just keep that in mind, that every time Eternal Soul brings back a Dark Magician, you can activate the Dark Magical Circle once per turn and banish 1 card. So this is a good card. I run it at 2. You could run this at 3. You can play with any of the ratios in this deck. And then play 2 copies of Magician Salvation. This is your field spell. When this card is activated, you can set 1 Eternal Soul directly from your deck. If you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, except during the damage step, you can target 1 of those monsters, special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard with a different name than the monster. You can only use this effect of Magician Salvation once per turn. You can only activate it 1 Magician Salvation per turn. So keep that in mind. But this is a good way to get out both of them. It allows you to get out both your Dark Magician and your Dark Magician Girl, so you have 2 bodies on the field. So just keep that in mind. Extremely good card. And then this one sadly can't be searched because of how it's worded, but it's an amazing fusion monster or fusion spell for this deck that basically makes it so you don't have to play all the cards you need for the different fusion materials. But I play 2 copies of the Eye of Timaeus. This card is always treated as Legendary Dragon Timaeus. Target 1 Dark Magician monster you control. Fusion summon 1 fusion material or fusion monster from your extra deck that lists that monster on the card as fusion material. Using it as the fusion material, you can only activate 1 Eye of Timaeus per turn. So basically, this card activates. You can take your Dark Magician, this card, and fuse them into any of the fusion monsters in your extra deck that lists Dark Magician. So there are some cards in this deck that otherwise I wouldn't be able to get out if it wasn't for the Eye of Timaeus card, but I enjoy playing that just for that reason. We then play 1 copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. Activate 1 of the following effects. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl as fusion material. Ritual summon 1 ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girls, who total level equals or exceeds the level of the ritual monster. So a good way to get off your Illusion of Chaos. Also a good way to fusion summon monsters you need, especially on your opponent's turn, because this is a quick effect. Or quick play. And then play 1 copy of Magicalized Fusion. This card is extremely good, especially later in the game, because you can fusion summon 1 spellcaster fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. So later in the game, once all your materials are basically in the graveyard, and you're kind of trying to figure out how to continue this on, you can drop this card, banish the materials from the graveyard, summon them back, or summon a monster from your extra deck. Most of the time, you'll use this card to summon out your Quintet Magician, and it just destroys the board. So just remember that. Quintet is probably your best summon off of that. We then play 1 copies of the Red Eyes Fusion. This one's an obvious play of the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, but Fusion summon 1 fusion material that lists a Red Eyes monster as material from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material. And if you do, its name becomes Red Eyes Black Dragon. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters to turn you activate this card. So just keep that in mind. If you brick, but you have this in your opening hand, you can at least get out your Dragoon and have him out to have some kind of attack barrier / negate effect, because he can tribute cards to stop effects. So just keep that in mind. This is a good card to open with if you have no other plays. We then play another one of the anime tech cards, 1,000 Knives. If you control Dark Magician, target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy that target. So this is just a spot removal, but it is a good card to have nostalgia from the anime. We also play 1 copy of Dark Magic Attack. You can only activate this card when there's a face-up Dark Magician on your side of the field. Destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent's side of the field. So it's a Harpy's Feather Duster, but it's specialized for this deck. Basically, it's if you have an entire back row and you're going second against it, and you can get out your Dark Magician without it getting destroyed, destroy the rest of your back row, and then continue on your combos. But I threw it in there because it's an actual archetype specific version of Harpy's Feather Duster. So I much rather would run archetype specific cards of other cards if I have the choice. I play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. This is your searcher for your Illusion of Black Chaos, which just adds 1 level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add 1 ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. So like I said, this is just an easy way for you to get the Illusion of Dark Chaos to your hand. And then lastly, we play 1 other field spell. It's not an archetype specific one, but it's a great card since your entire deck is pretty much spellcasters. I play 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. If only you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. If you control no spellcaster monsters, you cannot activate spell cards. So it's a good way to stop your opponent from activating spell cards when you're not ready for them. But like I said, 90% of the monsters in this deck are spellcaster type monsters. So you won't really have to worry about the effect of you not being able to use your spell cards. And that is it for the spells. I play a good amount of traps in here. I play 6 traps total. I play 2 copies of the Eternal Soul. This is a great card in this deck. Every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So, if you have a Dark Magician on the field, or even that Magician of Dark Illusion that says its name is Dark Magician on the field, also affected by this card. So, they cannot affect your monster's named Dark Magician with effects. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters you control. So that is the downside of this card. It is an all or nothing glass cannon. Best thing to do is play this card and somehow get out Dark Magician the Dragon Knight so your back row is protected. And then you can only activate 1 of these effects. Special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard. So like I said, that's why I play 3 copies of the original Dark Magician, because you can bring him back from your graveyard, or if you have a copy in your hand that you can't get out or you don't want to tribute summon him, you can use this card to bring him out. Or add 1 Dark Magic Attack or 1,000 Knives from your deck to your hand, which goes with both those cards, the archetype specific Harpy's Feather Duster and the spot removal card. whatever one you need for the situation at the time, you can get it for off of this card. So this card is great for pretty much any situation. If you need a monster or either of the spells, you can get them both off of this card. I then play one copy of Magician's Combination. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can tribute one Dark Magician or one Dark Magician Girl, special summon one Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your hand or graveyard with a different name from the tributed monster. And if you do, negate the activation of the effect. If this face-up card is sent from the spell trap card zone to the graveyard, you can destroy one card on the field. So it's, like I said, another good way to just tag out monsters back and forth. If you have Dark Magician Girl and one Dark Magician, or vice versa, good card for that. And then the last one I play, like I said, archetype specific, but I play Destined Rivals. If you control Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, negate the effect of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. You can only activate one Destined Rivals per turn. So this is just the, like I said, archetype specific card, but this is a good substitute for like Skill Drain. Because this card is only for the turn. It's not going to piss off any of your friends if you're playing this. It's only for the one turn. So just keep that in mind. It's a good archetype specific card to swap out for another one of just the generic hand fodder. But that is it for the main deck. On to the extra deck, we have the 2 copies of the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Like I said, this is your main boss monster. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, during your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number or the monster's original attack. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. You can burn your opponent off of this, so just keep that in mind. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card. So that's what I was saying about using just the vanilla normal Dark Magician, and the reason we play the vanilla Red Eyes Black Dragon. That's why, because you can use that effect twice then. Twice per turn. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can discard one card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack. And this is not a temporary gain. When this card gains that 1,000 attack boost, it stays. So every time you use that effect, it boosts the card by 1,000 points. You can only use that effect once per turn, but there's always going to be an effect to negate pretty much every turn. So this card just keeps growing, and it's unaffected by card effects. You could basically only destroy this card by battle. So just keep that in mind as well. It is a very hard card to get through, especially during the time I built this deck, just due to the fact that there was not a lot of cards. It's been power crept lately, but there was not a lot of cards at the time that could really swing over this or destroy it, especially with both of the effects it has. This is the only card that will probably make all your friends extremely mad if you're playing against them. We then play one copy of the Dark Magicians. And then once per turn, if a spell or trap card or effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can draw one card. And then if it was a spell or trap card, you can set it. If it was a trap or quick play spell, you can activate it during this turn. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon both one Dark Magician and one Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, and or graveyard. So just keep that in mind also. There are ways to destroy your own monster, and if you do, it gives you 2 extra bodies on the field. Just keep that in mind. But great card. We then play one copy of Master of Chaos. This is one of those you have to use the Eye of Timaeus to get out. I think for probably the next 2 or 3 cards, it's going to be that way. But if this card is fusion summoned, you can target one light or dark monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can tribute one light or dark monster, banish all monsters your opponent controls. If this fusion summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So, it's a good way to wipe your opponent's board, expect like their monsters, but it also recurs spells back to your hand when he's destroyed. So keep that in mind as well. It's a good thing to remember, because a lot of times I completely forget secondary effects, especially ones upon destruction. After I use their effect, for some reason, I seem to think that that's just it. I need to get better at that. But it does have a good effect upon destruction. Another card you need item I asked for is one copy of Dark Paladin. This is one of the coolest cards, honestly, that is in this entire deck. I love this card. I loved it in the anime. Favorite monster Yu-Gi ever played. This monster can only be special summoned by fusion summon. As long as this card remains face up on the field, you can negate the activation of one spell card and destroy the spell card by declaring one card from your hand. The attack of this card increases by 500 points for each dragon-type monster on the field and in either player's graveyard. So remember that, because you have to keep track of how many dragon-type monsters on the field. But if you're up against a Blue Eyes deck, or like Black Rose Dragon, it has a lot of dragon-type tuners in it, or Stardust, Red Dragon Archfiend, like those are some of the main ones I can remember. It gains a lot of attack off of those monsters. It can add up quick. So just keep that in mind, because it gains 500 for each one. And starting at 2,900, you can easily get up to 49, 59, 6,900. So just keep that in mind, because if you don't keep track of how many dragons are where, you're not going to know the effect, and someone's just going to take advantage of that. I've had that exact situation before. I then play one copy of Dark Cavalry. This card gains 100 attack for each spell trap on the field and in the graveyards. It says graveyards, remember that too. Once again, just like the dragon type monster, keep it track of all the spells and traps in your opponent's graveyard and your own, because this guy gains attack equal to those. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. When this card or effect is activated, that targets, or a card is activated that targets this card on the field, quick effect, you can discard one card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So it has a good protection for the first time of destruction if it's by an effect. And then we play the one copy of the Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This is one of your main go-to cards to get out, just due to the fact that it can protect your back row. This card's name becomes Dark Magician while on the field, so it's also protected by Magician or Eternal Soul when it's on the field, or in the graveyard. So this is another card you can bring back off of Magician or Eternal Soul as well. Your opponent cannot target spells, traps you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So they can still be banished, but they, like as a mass banish, but it can't be targeted. So if they are doing just a singular, this card can banish one, or target one card, banish the target, cannot target your Eternal Soul with that. So the Eternal Soul protects this card protects Eternal Soul. Then you have a protection loop between it all, and you can just go off more and more. So this deck is actually fairly consistent if you know how to play it. We then play the one copy of Quintet Magician. Like I said, off Magical Eyes Fusion is probably the best way to summon this card, but must be fusion summoned. If this card is fusion summoned using 5 spellcaster monsters with different names, like I said, late game is the best time to drop this card. You can destroy all cards your opponent controls. This face-up card on the field cannot be attributed nor used as fusion materials. Also, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So, he is pretty much protected from effects, spell, trap, monsters, any of those effects. Pretty much protected, wipes the field. He comes out at 4,500. This is kind of your ultimate boss monster for the league game. Especially if you can get that 5 different names. Perfect. This is the one card out of the Maze of Moratos that I've gotten so far, and it is one copy of Timaeus, the United Magical Dragon. After this card is special summoned, it is unaffected by other cards' effects until the end of the next turn. You can only use each of the following effects of Timaeus, the United Magical Dragon once per turn. If this card battles during damage calculation, you can make this card gain 100 attack for each spell in the graveyard, and banishment. So once again, another zone you have to keep track of. You have to remember to keep track of the spells banished as well as the spells in the graveyards. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one spell or trap on the field and destroy it. So when you destroy that spell or trap, but he only gains a mount off a spell, so I would highly recommend destroying a spell card. Destroy a spell, it goes to the graveyard, he gains an additional attack. And an attack bonus. So just, that's a good thing to remember. You can power them up more every time. We then move on to the XZs. We play one copy of Ebon, Illusion Magician. You can also XZ summon this card by using a rank 6 spellcaster type monster you control as the XZ material. XZ materials attached to that monster also become XZ materials on this card. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card. Special summon one spellcaster normal monster from your hand or deck, so that's your Dark Magician. When a spellcaster normal monster declares an attack, you can target one card your opponent controls, banish it. You can only use this effect of Ebon, Illusion Magician once per turn. So you can special summon one out, and then when he attacks, you can banish another card. So good card for just extending, getting more bodies onto the field. We play one copy of Ebon High Magician. While this card has XZ material, you can activate a quick play spell or a trap card from your hand during your opponent's turn by detaching one material from this card at activation. If this XZ summoned card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this XZ summoned card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one dark spellcaster monster from your hand or deck, then you destroy one card on the field. So once again, good way. This one doesn't save a normal type, it just says one dark spellcaster, so remember that, because you can get any of your spellcasters basically from your deck onto the field. We then play, these are more your generic cards now. To finish off the deck, we play one copy of number 11 Big Eye. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one monster your opponent controls. Take control of that monster. This card cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. So, another good way to swing for game. You use this card, steal a monster, you have another monster to attack with to try and swing for game. We then move to the links. We play one copy of Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. If another Magistus monster is normal summoned or special summoned while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters, equip this card you control to it. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can add one Magistus monster from your deck or hand. You can only use each effect of Artemis the Magician Maiden once per turn. You can only special summon Artemis the Magistus Moon Maiden once per turn. We then have one copy of Link Spider. This has to be a one normal monster, so if you get out like your Red Eyes or your Dark Magician, and it turns out that they stop you and you can't do anything, this is just a way to kind of link it off so you're not just kind of stuck. It gives you something to do. But with this, once per turn, you can special summon one level 4 normal monster from your hand to a zone this card points to. Like I said, can't really do anything with it, but you can link it off so you can get it into the graveyard, which means you could still potentially get off Eternal Soul the next turn to bring one back, or if you haven't used it yet and it's on a separate turn, you can get one into the graveyard, bring them back, and then you have an extra body on the board. So good thing to remember that. And then last, we play one copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. This card's great because you don't really worry about the second part of this, but you can target one dark monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your side of the field to a zone this card points to. If this link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can add one dark monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So, like I said, I don't think many of our cards have 1500 or less defense. Most of it is all 18 or above, but it would work with your Magician's Rods, Robes, and Souls. So, I guess you would want to worry about the second effect. But that is it for this deck profile. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry, I'm still recovering a little bit from the cold. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions on ways to make this deck better, obviously the new support would, but I don't have the time to get around to that yet. So, but if you have any other like unknown tech cards to make this deck more fun or improve its performance, let me know in the comments. Leave me a like, subscribe if you would, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Thank you for watching.